I'm Tom Morrow, and this is my co-host, Al Dente, and we are World of Pro Wrestling,
where we give our opinion on the current state of the wrestling industry today, and today our topic is...
TNA's
Bound for Glory.
This past Sunday, TNA had their biggest pay-per-view of the year, Bound for Glory.
But it seemed just like any other pay-per-view they've had.
Really, from what I've read online, they only had 2,500 tickets that were purchased for the arena they were in. They packed everybody in front of the camera, which you did not see. There was nobody behind that camera. Yeah,
that's pretty bad. I mean, in the beginning, during the first, it wasn't the first match, but during the pre-show, they had Mexican America versus Inc., one of the stupidest names I've ever heard of. Terrible match.
It was short.
Yeah, like 5 minutes. Pre-show match, Mexican America won. And
so there was no title change.
No title change.
It wasn't that interesting of a match.
It wasn't that interesting of a match.
But then they started their show with Austin Aries versus Brian Kendrick.
X Division title.
And that was a good match. I mean, Brian Kendrick puts on a good show.
Yeah.
I mean...
Yeah, Brian Kendrick put on a good show, but it was sad because he's not really an original. He's from WWE.
Yeah.
And really the best guys of the night were from WWE, like Mickie James, but we'll talk about that later.
But I mean... with this X Division title match, it truly was a good match. You saw a brain buster in there, which we haven't seen from the WWE.
Haven't seen it in a while. It was way better than, I think, the Impact Wrestling that was 2 weeks before that. It was an X Division match.
The X Division is a good thing in TNA, and I really enjoyed that match.
Usually, X Division, the problem with them is that they just run around a lot and don't really do anything. Lately, they've been doing that.
Yeah.
In this match, it was pretty good. They had a lot of botches, but the botches actually
turned out well. And the following match after that was RVD versus Jerry Lynn. Now, throughout that entire match, everybody was chanting ECW. So, really, it was a recreation of a past match.
Yeah, it was a Full Metal Mayhem match.
Which you only saw...
Basically, it was just a hardcore match.
Well, with ladders and chairs because of metal and whatnot.
But it was a hardcore match, but it was a very WWE hardcore match. Not a lot happened.
But there was blood.
Yeah, there was blood. RVD did, the spinning kick.
Spinning heel kick.
Spinning heel kick into the chair on his face.
And then
there was another move that he did. I think it was still the spinning kick, and he hit him, and he hit Lynn, and Lynn spun in the air. I think you were away for that. I saw it, and I said, like, oh, boy, man.
I mean, yeah, but even they botched in that match as well with the ladder, but still, it turned out well, because it was a hardcore match, so you can't really botch in a hardcore match.
I remember Lynn botched when he tried to powerbomb RVD onto the ladder. He missed completely, and RVD hit his head.
RVD smashed his head on the barricade.
Yeah, I'm surprised he even got up after.
But after that, RVD got up, and then he put Jerry Lynn under the ladder, then he did like a Shane McMahon where he jumps from turnbuckle to turnbuckle, but he did it with the chair, and he drop kicked the chair into the ladder, which was on Jerry Lynn, and that's how RVD got the 1, 2, 3.
Lynn looked like he was out
of it, yeah.
Out cold. And winner of that match, RVD.
Yeah.
Good match. Good match.
The match after that we weren't so thrilled about. It was with Samoa Joe, Crimson, and Matt Morgan.
Yeah.
Now, Samoa Joe...
He's a big fat Gerber baby. That's basically what he is. That's really what he is these days.
Matt Morgan is really an athlete. He really is. He really can do... everything.
Yeah, and he looks cut, but cut in a real way, like no roids or anything. I mean, you never know, but he looks genuine.
With that, Crimson won that match, but apparently Crimson has this whole I'm undefeated. I think they're pulling like a Goldberg kind of thing with him.
I don't know.
I don't know if they should recreate that. That was really like a one-time thing. And I mean, Crimson won with Matt Morgan could have broke that up. I mean, he hurt his leg on the turnbuckle, but
yeah, he tried to He had Samoa Joe on the turnbuckle, and he went to shove his leg into him while he's running into Samoa Joe. He misses, he lands...
And Crimson spears Samoa Joe.
Yeah, and Matt Morgan is just standing there at the turnbuckle, and he could have done something, but, there was no...
He didn't, I mean,
there was no dramatic ending at all, and Crimson won. Terrible match.
But the match after that really made up for that, and I thought it was the best match of the night. And that was Mr. Anderson versus Bully Ray.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, that was a hardcore match I have not seen in a long time.
But again, Anderson, and this is what I said in the beginning, Anderson's from WWE, Bully Ray's from ECW, then went to WWE, but still, these are guys who weren't bred at first in TNA.
Mm-hmm.
And they put on, I thought it was going to be a terrible match.
They're purchased talent.
I mean, Bully Ray, I think, right now has, like, no personality, but... Yeah, he's out. He's actually worse than Cena.
I didn't think Mr. Anderson was going to put as good a show.
I didn't think it was going to be a good show.
But I mean, it was a good match. The sign where he had the dead end, I didn't expect that. I thought it was just going to be some guy's sign.
There was definitely a plant in there in the audience, but
they used hardcore brilliantly. I mean, they couldn't have used it any better.
He took a beer can, or was it?
Yeah, and then Lady pours beer all over Bully Ray.
The lady pulled? The lady?
Well, no. I think Bully Ray took a beer, smashed it over Kennedy, and when Kennedy was beating on Bully Ray, some lady randomly just poured beer on the both of them. Unplanned, I don't think.
And then they fight on to they go backstage and they start fighting for like a couple seconds,
which was good.
And then they bring each other back out into the audience,
and then they pull out.
Then Anderson incapacitates Bully Ray. Then Anderson takes the guardrail, one of the steel guardrails that's like outside, not on the edge, like, you know, around near the ring. It's more like in the audience itself.
And he sets it up in the ring.
He sets it up in the ring, and I'm saying to myself, what's he going to do with this thing? And then what is it, suplex? Or somehow they...
Because I think he tried to suplex Bully Ray, but then Bully Ray countered. And then he slammed Kennedy on the barricade.
Yeah, because I think I missed that one.
And that had to hurt. And then later in the match, Kennedy was lying on the barricade. Bully Ray went up to the top,
jumped off,
and then did like this leg drop, and then completely missed Anderson.
He didn't really miss him. Anderson got out of the way.
Yeah, he got out of the way.
He fell right onto the guardrail. And that wasn't the first time that wasn't even the last time they hit the guardrail. And
then after that, the table was set up previously, and then Anderson wanted to do like a swanton bomb on Bully Ray on the table, but he completely overshot the table and landed on the floor.
It was a pretty good swanton bomb, but I don't think it got the effect he wanted.
So he made up for it by doing his finisher straight through the table, face first to Bully Ray, and he picked up the victory. And there was also blood in that match as well.
There was blood in a lot of the matches. I think it was kind of overdone.
So I thought that match was very good.
Yeah, it was very good.
Now, the match after that was the Divas match. Now, I mean...
the Knockouts match.
The Knockouts match. Now, they have a tremendously better women's division compared to the WWE. Yeah. I mean, they gave them the time of day. But they kind of drew out the match a little bit. So they should have had more action, less storyline in it. I mean, they involved a little bit too much in that, and then people were starting to get upset in the crowd, and it was a little bit too drawn out.
Yeah, the parts that were really boring and slow were anything that had to do with Karen Angle.
Yeah.
Karen Jarrett, sorry, because she was a special guest referee. And a lot of the good moves came from Mickie James.
But Mickie James wound up not winning, and then Velvet Sky picked up the Divas Championship and won.
It was very confusing because it kind of started out as a tag match, and then it kind of morphed into a fatal four-way.
But it was a good match for the women's division. But after that, AJ Styles and Christopher Daniels, the I Quit match.
Now, I didn't understand. I couldn't figure out what they were going to do to get either of them to say I quit. Because I couldn't see AJ saying it, and I couldn't see Daniel saying it, because even though he's the heel in this case, I just couldn't imagine him saying that. And really, the other name that you could give this thing was, I'm going to try and kill you with a screwdriver.
Really, that's what it was.
Because Daniels, like, in the middle of the match, gets a screwdriver and tries to kill AJ. And obviously he doesn't.
And he makes death threats to the crowd.
Yeah,
and he calls out his wife.
He tells his wife, "Watch your husband as I kill him."
And they had great moves in that match. And then the momentum shifts, and AJ gets the upper hand, and he goes after Daniels with the screwdriver, and then Daniels says, "I quit," because he thinks he's actually going to hurt him, which it intends, and then...
Terrible ending.
And then Daniels goes to the back, and then attacks AJ, and they ended that match poorly. They could have done it so much better.
They didn't finish the storyline. It's going to continue.
And then the match of the night, Sting versus Hogan.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember that.
Hogan came out in jeans. He pulled a John Cena. Pretty bad.
Hogan looked like he just entered the building.
And he put knee pads on his jeans.
And said, you know,
let me dress up as John Cena today.
Screw the regular outfit that I wear. Screw the red and yellow. I'm just going to go out with an Impact Wrestling shirt and jeans.
Yeah, and Hogan couldn't take any falls in that match. He looked like a walking zombie.
He took, I think, 2 or 3.
Yeah, that's all he could have.
But Hogan was... wait a minute. Hogan dominated most of the match. I guess the reason was because of the fact that he couldn't take that many falls. Because what else was Sting going to do? Sting is actually pretty good. But Hogan was dominating the whole match. Finally, we got to the point where Sting put the Scorpion Deathlock on Hogan after a 3-minute match.
Plus, don't forget, they had some kind of a weapon which bloodied the both of them.
Yeah,
that wasn't necessary in that match at all. There was no point.
Terrible.
I mean, it's awful. I mean, it's like beating up your grandfather. I mean, come on.
And Hogan isn't after Flair comes out, and because we have the return of Ric Flair.
It's like wrestling in a retirement community.
We have the rest of Immortal coming out and beating the heck out of Sting and Bischoff's son, the Ref.
And then Hogan miraculously.
Hogan is in the corner like fighting for a breath of air, and then he
surprised the ref didn't come down with an oxygen tank.
Yeah, I know. He hulks up and he rips his shirt off. Sting and Hogan beat up Immortal and Flair, and they shake hands, and now they're good friends. But Sting now is in control of the company, or I guess Dixie is still in control of the company now. No drama in the match whatsoever. But whatever, and now on to the second worst match of the night.
After the Hogan match.
Rob, if you thought that it could get worse than that, boy, were you wrong. Because Robert Roode and Kurt Angle's match was terrible.
Oh, wait.
There's not much
He's got the ankle lock. No. He's got the crossface.
We're not going to say much because, yes, there were a lot of submissions, but it was only 2 submission holds. And there were a lot of counters.
Don't forget the angle slam.
But it was only a counter into one other move, or one other hold. It consisted of the ankle lock, the angle slam, and the crossface. Finally, Roode got pinned by Angle, and Angle retains the title.
And apparently Roode was supposed to win that match, but Hogan didn't like to see the push of Roode. So he decided, hey, let's make Kurt Angle keep his championship.
Oh, I don't know.
So, overall, Bound for Glory was decent.
It was alright.
Wasn't great. It was like a normal pay-per-view, but it had enjoyable matches.
Easily could have been an Impact show.
So that's TNA's Bound for Glory. Alright, Al, I think that's all the time we have for today. If you liked our video, we've got 2 words for you. Please
subscribe.
Also, you can follow us on Twitter at AlWPW.Tom@Twitter.com.
And our question today is, what was your opinion of TNA's Bound for Glory?
Please leave your answers and comments below. See ya!
Keep in the ring, YouTube.